Star Wars has had over 100 games since it began, and naturally some of them have been lost, so I decided to play 5 that time forgot. Along the way I found hidden gems, as well as games that deserve the Anakin treatment, requiring me to use all of my willpower to get through. The first game I tried was Star Wars Demolition for the PS1. Imagine Twisted Metal with Star Wars, and that's this game. We start with the iconic opening crawl, informing us that the Empire, who are literally space Nazis, have banned pod racing for being too dangerous. I guess if you don't draw the line at genocide, you have to somewhere. Following this, we're treated to an opening cinematic showing off all of our playable characters and how they're definitely not dead. Boba Fett then enters Jabba's palace, and oh my god, they must have picked the seizure font for this main menu. Why won't it stop moving? It's hurting my eyes. After I recover, I pick tournament mode, which is the closest thing this game has to a story. You have to go through 4 rounds, with each round increasing the amount of opponents you have to kill. I select the character Wade Vox because he looks like every one of my high school bullies, so even if I lose, I get to win by watching him die. We start in Mos Eisley, where I'm pleasantly surprised to see that if you drive close enough to the cantina, you can hear the iconic music. My first opponent is this tank, so I then begin the exciting gameplay loop of shooting it a bunch until it dies. The next map is Hoth, which is a cool location, but nothing majorly special happens and I just kill a bunch more people. In the third round I end up on Tatooine, where everything was going incredibly well until I drove my speeder straight into a Sarlacc pit. On the upside, the Sarlacc pit works, and we got to watch that Wade dude die. Silver linings. Wanting to try another character, I scrolled across the menu and saw Boba Fett, and so naturally in a vehicle game where every other character drives one, you'd think he'd have one too. But nope, you literally just play as Boba Fett flying with his jetpack. This created the truly beautiful sight though, with Boba Fett battling a Rancor on top of the Death Star with R2-D2 by his side and proton torpedoes wedged on his shoulder. Sure, it made no sense whatsoever, but it was fun, and so that added points in my book. I also want to point out how terrifying it would be for this TIE pilot who just saw his comrade killed by Boba Fett flying about in the vacuum of space. I was also lucky enough to capture this truly terrifying moment where I played as an AT-AT sprinting, and now it lives rent-free in my nightmares. His flying animation was something of true beauty though. Overall, this one was a good time, if not dated by controls and gameplay. Still give it a go if you're interested. I'd give it a Watto out of 10. Now I'm going to venture into the depths of hell for this game called Star Wars Rebel Assault 2: The Hidden Empire. I spent so much time trying to get through the first few levels of this game, and here's the thing, it's an older one, so I understand that it's going to be harder, and the first 2 weren't even that bad, but the third level is the thing of my nightmares. I close my eyes and see this game. So why is it so bad? Well, we start with an FMV video showing 2 pilots, all who have the common theme of showing no emotion when their friends die in front of them. I mean, look at his reaction. A man just died and he just turns like nothing happened. It makes you wonder who the real enemy is here. I proceed through the first level, which is basically just piloting a spacecraft and making my way to this planet. Really uneventful, nothing major happens. Because we're a skilled pilot, we end up crash landing near an Imperial base. And lacking any critical thinking skills, the best port of call is to sneak in unarmed and injured. On the way in, we kill 2 stormtroopers by shooting them each once. Seems logical. No, it's not, because then you start shooting and realise you have to hit them an ungodly amount of times before they die. Finally, after killing a small army though, we're able to acquire the Millennium Falcon, with only minor psychological scarring from the events that have taken place. Now, I was excited to pilot one of my favourite ships, but little did I know this was going to be about as fun as volunteering at Guantanamo Bay. I proceeded to die over and over and over again. Here's the issue, you control the ship going up, down, left and right, but its movement is also controlled by the camera, which you have no control over. This led to me being slammed into the wall so many times that I worried my pilot had sustained head injury from the previous crash. Eventually though, after I finish my call with the Samaritans, I get past this flying section, only to be greeted with a shooting one. When will this pain end? I was praying it would go by quick, and I did die once, but luckily I managed to escape. Overall, I'd give this a Rise of Skywalker out of 10, burn my eyes out and never let me see it again. Next, I dived into everybody's favourite Star Wars film, Episode 1: The Phantom Menace. Immediately this got points, as I got to play as the rat tail variant of Obi-Wan, even if you can't see it through all 12 polygons. This game mainly just retreads the story of the Phantom Menace, but instead this time the droid lies to us about the room being poisoned, so I kill it. Walking outside I can see it's an ambush, so I proceed to deflect all of their blast fire. Something cool that I noticed is, much like the recent Jedi games, deflection is timing based, so you have to hit the button at the exact right moment. This really helped me feel more immersed when I was taking the lives of these droids. The only thing that would have made it better is if they were human. Soon after we encounter some destroyer droids, and so like the Jedi training says, because they are slightly more powerful, we run away and hide. It's at this point I'm separated from Qui-Gon and have to find my way back to him. So I trek through the vents and indiscriminately kill more. I then come across this spinning vent, and so do what we would all do in this situation, and quick save so I can jump into it. Surprisingly, there's dismemberment and you get cut into a bunch of little pieces. I then find my way out the vent and encounter this dude who begs for his life. Quick save time again, and yes, you can kill him, which is something more Star Wars games should let you do. After destroying the power generator for the ship, I head back to where I came from to meet up with Qui-Gon. He tells me to sneak onto the ship, so after some light puzzle work, I fall through the floor and die, because who would have guessed that a 20-year-old game doesn't have good collision? So I reload, do the whole thing again, again and eventually make it onto the ship after completing our peacekeeping duties. Overall, this one was a cool experience because of its freedom to literally kill everyone, so I'd give it a try if you get the chance. I'd give it a dark side Anakin out of 10. Moving on though, remember Star Wars 1313, the bounty hunter and possible Boba Fett game which got cancelled when a definitely not evil corporate mouse took over Star Wars and bought it for $4 billion? Well, turns out, while we may never see that game, we did get a Star Wars bounty hunter game where we play as everyone's favourite decapitated character, Jango Fett. It immediately gets points though, as it has one of them unique LucasArts openings, where Boba Fett swoops in and steals the dude and replaces him. Why don't more companies do reveals like this? It's fun. This game was actually a pleasant surprise though. We start off by hunting down this dude who's operating a robot bug, so we introduce his two friends to the afterlife, which surprisingly makes him aware of our presence. He tries to run, and just as we're about to catch up, he makes that robot bug attack us, which also causes us to lose our jetpack. So to escape the arena, we kill the bug, and that's when I find out that other people around the game world also have bounties on them, which you can capture and hand in for cash. So naturally I proceed to mercilessly kill everyone who crosses my path and chase after this alien, ignoring any available bounties because I'm a psychopath. We end up running through city streets in pursuit of our target. Eventually we catch up to him, but he steals a ship, so we rob this man at gunpoint for the jetpack we lost at the beginning, because technically it's not stealing if we already owned it. We then have an epic chase back through the city where he politely waits for me to follow him whenever I go game journalist mode and don't know what I'm doing. I shoot this dude off the edge and he does the Wilhelm scream, which makes my day. And then he crashes his ship. I continue to have a shootout through what looks like a space Amazon warehouse, which has similar working conditions too. I appreciate the attention to detail. Catching up to him, I see that he's stolen another ship, which kinda looks like the Razor Crest off The Mandalorian. He tries to kill me again, but this time it seems more justified, as I am the monster who just massacred an entire city in pursuit of him, probably because he's late on his phone bill or something. The punishment seems disproportionate to the crime, but not being somebody who gives second thoughts to ethical dilemmas, we shoot the ship a bunch and manage to capture him alive, ready to be sent off and tortured. But hey, at least we got paid. I'd really recommend this one. Once you get a handle of the old control style, it really shines as a standout Star Wars experience. I'd give it a New Hope out of 10. We saved the best for last though with Star Wars Episode 1 Racer. Now wait, before you write this off, hear me out. When I booted this up, I wasn't sure what I was getting into, but much like the first time you do meth, after a few minutes I was hooked. The game has 21 unique tracks, all with shortcuts and different environmental things that happen while you're racing, across 8 different planets. You have to manage the heat with your boost, a little bit like the Motorstorm games, and then on top of that, the health of your ship when you're racing. I wanted to put my mediocre racing abilities to the test, so I entered the tournament and aimed to come first in each of them. What followed was 7 intense races of me battling with my competition, but also saving Star Wars as we know it. How did I do this? Well, I found out that you can kill Kid Anakin, rewriting the timeline and making sure that the sequel trilogy never came to be. So overall, this game gets an Empire Strikes Back out of 10. Honestly, do yourself a favour and give this game a go. With different characters you can play as and map variety, it's a perfect sit back and relax game. New videos every Sunday, make sure you're subscribed. Thank you for 2,000 so much. And if you're not done watching me suffer, go check out the Fallout video, where I try to make it to New Vegas from the start of the game with no weapons and kill Benny by clicking this video here.